Hi and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be unboxing a new RadMini. More on why we have a new RadMini in a separate video, but today we're going to unbox it, kind of show the initial setup and kind of go from there. So I already took the liberty of cutting the tape so I can get into the box on top, and I will move the camera over so you can kind of see what it looks like when it's all packed up. So when you get the bike, it's going to be all wrapped up. You got a lot of plastic, a lot of zip ties, a whole bunch of items in here. So first things first, we're going to take out the little styrofoam here. Then you're going to want to unhook a couple of these zip ties first. You want to pull out the wheel, pull out the other accessory box, and any other loose items that might be in here. So we'll just snip this zip tie. Tire pretty easily comes out there. There are a ton of zip ties that hold the bike in. You're going to want to cut these off here and there so you can actually gain access to it. I need to not destroy this box because I need to reuse it to also send back my other RadMini. So once you get the tire out of the way, at that point in time, you can pretty much pick up the bike and get it out of there. And at that point, once it's outside of the box, you're going to be able to take off the rest of the zip ties. So now that the bike is out, I'm going to go through and clip off the rest of these zip ties so I can get all the packaging off it. There's no particular order to get these off. You just kind of want to start unsnipping them one after one after one. So this is going to be the front fender to go in the front. When you're snipping all these off, obviously be careful for the cables. Some of the zip ties are close to the cables themselves. Last thing you want to do is cut one of those cables that you need. One thing I noticed that Rad included on their bikes now is that it does notify you and let you know that after your initial break-in period of 80 to 160 kilometers, so that'd be about 60 to 80 miles, you should have your spokes rechecked, tightened accordingly, and then just go through the bike the rest of the way. My plans are to put it together myself. After I go through that little break-in process, I'll probably have VeloFix come back over, give it its initial tune-up and inspection, make sure everything else is good, and make any sort of fine adjustments that I'm not capable of doing. So the bike, for the most part, is pretty much assembled. I got to flip the fork around, put the handlebars on, put the pedals on, hook up the fenders to make sure everything's all kind of hooked up there, put on the front light, and then put some air in the tires, and then it should be ready to ride. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and flip the handlebars back around. There we go. And just need to get the front off the stem here, and the handlebars pretty much just hook right up. Now to put on the screws for the faceplate for the handlebar on the stem. It comes with 4 screws with Loctites with lock washers on it, and we'll get those installed. So once you get the first screw started over here, you should really go diagonally and kind of tighten them up evenly after that. So I already put in the top left one, and I'm going to put in the bottom right one. And then slowly tighten them up evenly as best you can. You most likely will want to make some fine adjustments once you have everything back together as far as getting the handlebars at the angle that you desire. All right, so the handlebars are nice and tight at this point. And now we're going to move on to putting on the light, getting the fenders attached properly. Then after that, we'll get the front tire put on and get air in there and check everything else out. So actually I was just going through the instructions real quick, just want to make sure I'm doing everything right. They actually say to put the tire on first up front and then put the light and the fender on. So we will go according to the instruction. So I've got the front tire now, and then we're loosening up the quick release that's down here. Get the skewer, put it through, and then put it on to the front of the bike. So once that's loose, you should be able to pull it right out of the plate here, and we'll put the kickstand down. It should hold the back part of the bike up. So we're going to gently put it down on the fork. We do have to take the skewer the rest of the way out of the front plate here, and then we can put it onto the bike. Make sure you get the springs on both sides out of there so you can put it through. Then when you put the front tire on, you want to make sure to get the rotor inside the caliper, nice and even. There we go. Front tire is now on the bike. Now we got 2 of the fender screws. We'll go ahead and put them on the rear. You can do the front and the rear, doesn't matter which direction, but we're gonna do the rear right now. All right, so the rear fender's on now. Is basically just these 2 screws that are down the bottom, one on each side. just more or less put them in, that's it. Now for the front, it's a tiny bit more complex, but not much. You're just gonna be hooking up the light, single connector, and then you have the bolt down here with the nut on the end. And then first things first, we're gonna take this out of here. You'll feed that through the bottom right there, so the legs are on the other side, and then we're gonna hook this up right over here. So we'll get the screw, go through the light and through the hole here. I guess maybe put a washer on each side. Let me check the directions. So with the washers, you're gonna leave one side, one on this side, and one on the other side. So you're gonna pass it through the headlight, the fender, the arch of the fork here, put the washer back on the other side without dropping it, put the washer on the other side, grab the nut, and start tightening it. Now there is a Loctite on the other side, so it's gonna hold it and you're gonna have to use a wrench. We will start the legs on the bottom down here, just so it holds the fender accordingly. All right, so we're gonna hold the nut on the other side with the wrench and start tightening it up. Once you get it taut a little bit, kind of line everything back up and then do the final tightening after that. All right, and last but not least, before we have the battery charged up and we can turn it on, we want to put on the pedals, and then the seat will just go right straight down in the post. So the pedals are labeled left and right, and they are reverse thread. So when you put them on, from what I understand, you want to twist them towards the front of the bike, will be the reverse thread. Right inside, they're pretty clearly labeled. This one you can see is the R for right, L for left. And again, you want to put them on reverse thread, turning towards the front of the bike. And you want to make sure you don't cross thread these in any sort of way. From my understanding, on some of the older bikes, you could strip out your crank pretty easily if these were not put on nice and straight and then tightened properly. Once on, grab your big wrench. All right, and just wrapping up, putting everything together on here. I will, once the battery gets charged, get it plugged in and make sure everything else is adjusted properly. I'm gonna get some air put in the tires, and then we'll be taking it on its maiden voyage tomorrow. I have noticed some things that are different. The paint scheme is actually a little different. Not that that's a huge thing, but I actually like the matte finish a little more in this. It is a little more shiny on the original one. So this is the RadMini 4. Levers and cable-wise, it's pretty much all the same. It does have a different headlight on the front. We'll see at night if that makes any sort of big difference. Component-wise, everything kind of looks the same as before. With the RadMini 4, it does actually come with the fenders now. I think it's been coming for 2 years with the fenders. When I originally got the 2019, the fenders were an accessory. And then I do have the back rack. For the time being, I think I'm gonna leave the rack off and then kind of take it from there. So I will be doing a side-by-side comparison between the 2019 and the current RadMini 4, and then also go over the reason why I got this new bike, and Rad actually sent it to me, to replacing my other one under warranty. So more of that coming up in the next video, and we'll go from there. Thank you for watching the video. I do appreciate it. If you did happen to get any information out of this that you find valuable, please hit the like button down below. If you like review videos in general, I do a fair amount of videos on the Rad bikes, but also just general tech and anything else I find that I like. So you could always hit subscribe and you'll see the videos when they pop up as they do. Thank you for watching and have a great day.